Are we here?
Present.
I don't know what's going on. Nothing's working. Everybody's here. Looks like we've got a quorum.
Almost. I think we need one more, Bob.
Oh. Let me see. Yeah, we do. Logan's here.
Michael said he'd be here, so just kind of wait for him.
Yeah. I can text him. Is Kara coming?
I believe so.
Okay.
Councilman, you getting any sleep?
Occasionally.
Couple hour stretches here and there?
Yeah, we're a few weeks in, so we're getting into a rhythm, I think.
Until they throw you for a loop. This isn't your first, is it?
No, fifth actually.
I thought you had a couple. Okay.
So yeah,
Not your first rodeo.
Yeah.
Good to hear it. You doing okay?
Yeah. And how's it going with, how old is yours now?
Oh, she's 2.5 months.
Okay.
So we started getting 8 hours last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. It's nice turn of events.
Yeah.
Shelley, I heard you came by the hazardous waste event and didn't say hello.
I think I don't know what you were doing.
We had a pretty good rush when you came by, I think. So we were probably helping 5 or 6 people.
I was really impressed. It was really ran well, I thought.
Thanks for saying that. First time. I thought it went smoothly. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Bob, anything?
There. I can't get anything out of Mike.
I just got a text from Will. Marissa couldn't make it. And he just emailed Michael.
I haven't heard from Kara.
Let me email Kara.
Sorry, I got a loud one back.
Well, we'll just make her our extra commission member. How are you doing, Logan? Are you getting more sleep?
I am. Yes, you can probably hear in the back here. I was telling Councilman Anderson, we figured we're doing something right. Last week, I think we got 8 hours for the first time. So that was a revelation for us.
Yeah. You're over the hump.
One sec, guys.
Go to my other computer here.
Tim, you doing all right, man?
I'm doing good. Just got back from vacation, so exhausted, but
Oh, welcome back to reality.
yeah, thank you.
Where'd you vacation, if you don't mind?
I went to Greece.
That's a hell of a vacation. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I relaxed a lot there, but I don't know. I feel like I need another one coming back. Right?
What? Yeah, I believe it. What's the travel time like? Where'd you fly into?
So originally I was gonna fly from here on KLM to Amsterdam.
Okay.
But then when the EU kind of put out their guidance and different countries started doing different things, I got nervous about transiting.
Yeah.
So I ended up flying direct from Newark on Air Emirates, which is a great airline. And but the catch, of course, was that I had to get from Denver to Newark. So I booked a flight on United, which going there was fine, but coming back it was hard because I didn't land in Newark until like 9:30 on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And then the earliest I could get back here was 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. Yeah. So
Brutal.
That was tough. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got to get away for a little bit.
Yeah, it was great.
That's tough flying those hours.
Yeah. I mean, I lived a lot of my life on the East Coast. And so from there to Europe is pretty, I mean, like from Boston to Ireland's like 5.5, 6 hours. But when I lived in LA, going to Europe from there was really difficult. So
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, LA to
Yeah.
Europe, you're
Yeah.
brutal.
really hard.
How long were you gone for?
Like a week and a half almost.
That's a nice trip.
Yeah, it was
probably
good.
needed.
Did you go to
Yeah,
the mainline land or did you go to some of the islands?
Mostly in Athens, and then we spent 4 nights on Crete. So that was
Nice.
really nice. And then went to a small uninhabited island from Crete, which was really pretty, but didn't go to like the touristy ones like Santorini, but maybe next time.
Were there any COVID restrictions for you flying in and out?
Yeah, so to fly there, they make you fill out a form,
Hmm.
but you don't need a test or anything. I think you need to prove. Actually, yeah, I think you need to prove either vaccination or a negative test. But then coming back to the U.S., you have to test negative from wherever you go. But yeah, while we were there, they were pretty strict. Like museums, restaurants, bars, all required you to show a vaccine card and wear a mask. So I was surprised how strict it was.
That's interesting.
I hope we're able to meet, but I wanted to introduce you to someone who's on the call. So Nina will be taking over for Shelly. And thanks, Shelly, for doing this meeting and also for training Nina. Nina works with me in the city manager's office. She's been with the city a little over a year, great employee, and volunteered to do this. So welcome, Nina.
Thanks, Nina. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet everyone and thank you.
It looks like Michael's trying to join us. So,
Good.
yay.
Well, I'm gonna miss Shelley.
Same.
No, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I'm still at City Hall, though.
Yeah,
Good.
it's just that I can't get in to see you.
Councilman, when can we meet in person again?
Next time.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
better
we can
be.
meet Person, anytime.
I actually asked Will yesterday, and that was his response. Was probably after this meeting we can have the option.
We were
Cool.
hoping to do it for this meeting, but without Will here and not knowing where Tim was gonna be coming from, we thought we'd better do it on Zoom instead of chancing not getting a quorum, which we just barely got.
You want to go ahead and open the meeting, Bob, and I'll go ahead and take
Yes.
a roll call.
Since we have a quorum, let's call the roll. I'm Bob Stephenson, Chairman.
Mike Chisholm, member.
Rachel Pelia, member.
Logan Dunning, member.
Joe Anderson, council liaison.
Tim Dodd, I think, new staff liaison.
I think that's everybody then. If you saw the agenda,
Can we do minutes first, Bob?
oh yes, we have to approve the minutes, sorry. I've got to look at the agenda, that's my problem. Did anybody get a chance to look at the minutes? I scanned them, I didn't see any problems. I will entertain a motion to accept them as written unless somebody has an addition or a change.
Move to accept.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Having motion to accept and having it second, all those in favor say aye.
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 And Mike, and we will say that they were accepted unanimously. And then as for the agenda, a couple of things just right off the bat. Will called me just before he left work and he said if anybody can work either shift at this Saturday's hazardous waste, we're one short on each of them, but especially in the mornings. Is anybody available for that?
Sorry, I'm out of town this weekend.
Okay,
I've got family in town, Bob. I'll follow up with you. Let me talk to Bryn, my wife.
okay, yeah, if we could just get past maybe that first rush, then we should be in good shape, but we could definitely use some help, so.
Okay.
Anyway, and then just to let you know, we had, I think it was 220 cars counted, which is more than we've had. I think that's the most cars we've had in 5 years. except for 2018, we had 230. So people are really regaining interest and looking for ways to recycle this stuff. So I'm really excited to see that, and we want to continue to back that and to promote it and to keep it going. So that's something that we'll have to work on with the new staff and everything, Tim. So anyway, and
Bob,
then,
can I make one comment, Bob?
yeah,
I thought the event went very smoothly. Just for security and just for safety for the future. I wasn't sure if there's another way to do it maybe, but there was a lot between us. I mean, there was a lot of, cash on hand at one point, and I just wasn't sure if there was a way that we could have somebody come pick up, maybe get that off of our hands a couple times throughout the event. That was my only thought.
Good point.
yeah, well, when I left at about 11, I think there was, I didn't actually have an account, but I'm sure there was over $1,500 in that bag. That's a good point. And maybe there's something that we could do at least to get it into the service center and not have it all in one place.
Right.
So, good
That's it.
point. Excellent.
Smooth
We'll,
event.
we'll
People seem
look at
really
that.
pleased with the ability to come drop off their stuff.
Yeah. And I had no comment. I think people are getting used to paying a fee, and if they check for what other things are charging, then it really makes sense to utilize that. So great. Any other comments, questions on that? The next thing, we have the leaf recycling coming up, and we have a charge of $1,500 that we have to approve tonight. And I believe that this goes to the place that hosts the leaf recycling, and they now charge us. So I need a motion to approve that $1,500 appropriation and a second.
Don't move.
Mike's just a moving man.
Somebody's got to
second.
do it.
Okay.
And Rachel, you seconded? Is that
Yes.
what I heard?
Yeah, I'll
Okay. Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Then let us, all in favor of approving it, say aye.
Aye.
It is approved unanimously. And so that takes care of that. We will have that coming up. We will probably nail some things down at our next meeting so that we know who's going to be available to work and all the more details that are needed. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Tim, for the presentation.
Thanks, Bob. If it's okay, there's one thing I just wanted to ask the commission about before I got started on this. So I think I mentioned it kind of off the cuff during one of, I think maybe the last time I spoke to you. Obviously, the plan is for most of your programming to stay as it's been going, which is great. The one item that I think this commission did in the past that we talked about maybe moving was the holiday lighting contest. So We had talked kind of internally at the staff level about what it could look like. And so we do, as I think you're all aware, we have a neighborhood program now, a neighborhood resources coordinator in our communications team. And we thought that it might be a good fit for that office to take that on. Certainly this commission could still choose to play a role in it or could still do it. But she, Madeline, who runs that program, emailed me yesterday and reminded me about it. And I said, well, I'm talking to the commission tomorrow night. So we'll see what they think. So just wanted to kind of bring that up for a quick discussion, if that's okay.
I think it's a great idea.
I like the holiday light competition.
I was about to say, if I recall, I think I remember Rachel saying that's the whole reason she serves on this commission. Is that
We're
not?
left with dirty bags of leaves and Just saying.
Yeah, I would have no problem with giving that to Madeline, and if we wanted to keep the judging, or we could volunteer to judge if we are one of those who are led to do so, or if we're sick and tired of Christmas and in the Grinch mode, we don't need to pursue it. But I would be more than happy to have Madeline oversee that. Any other
Okay.
discussion?
What is that? I have not had a chance to go through that event. I didn't do it with KEB. I wasn't on last year. What is that event? What's the succession of that event look like, or when does it take place?
Well, we usually open it up sometime around Thanksgiving to for applications for lighting. There's usually about between a dozen and 16, I think, is the most we've ever had applicants. And then sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, usually around the 10th of December, we ride in a van and visit all of the homes as they're lighted, and then just give out some prizes to just as a incentive, I guess, to decorate your houses. And it's been going on for, I don't know, I think since the 50s. And it used to be a pretty big deal, and we still have 6 or 8 really fancy homes decorated. But anyway, that's about the sum of it. And then
Madeline's taking it from us.
Yeah, and then we usually would go out to dinner and tally up the votes and figure out a prize so that most everybody could get some prize. And then there were a couple of $50 gift certificates that we sprang for, or something like that.
Well, damn, that sounds fun. Do we want first right of refusal to be judges? Can we negotiate that?
We
I
could
think
do
that's
that.
a good compromise.
Yeah. And anybody that would want to judge it, I'm sure Madeline would be open to doing something like that. That's been the tradition anyway. Do we need to vote on that, Tim, or what?
I actually don't know.
But if we're, you can tell Madeline that we're in favor of it, and then if we need to vote, we could do it next month and
Okay.
and have a resolution if we need to.
Sounds good. Yeah, and I'll let her know. The consensus is to move the administration to her, but that you'd like to still be involved as judges.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so I will pull up my presentation. So basically, as you'll probably recall, tonight the goal was for me to basically kind of start a deep dive into the sustainability plan. So what I plan to do is to go through a PowerPoint. I think pieces of this I've addressed before, to really kind of go through the plan, where it came from, what it is, what it looks like. Certainly happy to take questions throughout the presentation. Should probably take me about 15 or 20 minutes at most to get through it. And then I thought, based on our previous discussions, if you're still amenable, we could then have a discussion about the plan. I can pull it up if there's more details you want to talk about tonight. And then I think the next step would be, as we talked about, for the commission to maybe start to pick a few goal areas or topics that you're really interested in learning more about. And then starting in October, for me to coordinate having subject matter experts from the various goal areas come and present to the commission. Does that still sound like a plan that would work for all of you?
Yes,
Yes.
for
Great.
me,
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
yes.
All right, get started. Great. So a few months before I started with the City of Inglewood, in the summer of 2020, the City Council adopted a strategic plan. It has 7 areas in it. So other areas are things like infrastructure, safety, governance, local economy, transportation, and basically, again, sustainability was one of them. It had about, I think, 30 or so projects that were related to sustainability. And really chief among them were projects related to the consideration of having a sustainability commission and a sustainability program that would really help kind of move the needle, so to speak, on this area of the plan. So given that, and that those 2 items fell on the city manager's office, CMO. So given that, in November, last November, so we went to council and basically at a study session kind of presented a plan to build a sustainability plan, which obviously included working with all of you to create a sustainability commission and also to create a sustainability program. We then developed the plan, came back in February, got more council feedback, and then in April, right before Earth Day, and obviously in the spring, council adopted the city's first sustainability plan. So the way I think about the sustainability plan is I call it a plug-in plan, meaning it's a standalone sustainability plan, like a strategic plan essentially for sustainability, but then it also is now the sustainability section of the city's strategic plan. So it plugs in to our larger efforts. There's really kind of 4 big components of the plan. The first are goals. So goals are relatively large. We started, I think, with about 6 of them. We got some feedback from council members about some things they would like to include. And then we looked at best practices from other cities, and we ended up with about 10 different goal areas. Some of them are more robust than others. Some of them really are more regional. So for example, one is air quality. So that relies a lot on data from DRCOG, which is the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and also from the state has basically air quality monitoring areas. And so we get a lot of the data from there. But we have these 10 goal areas. Within each of them, we have outcomes. Now, these are really meant to be measures to basically know, for us to know if we're moving the needle in these areas. Outcome metrics usually, so there's different types of metrics. So, input metrics basically measure how much we did of something, so how many sessions we ran of a program. Output metrics measure basically how well we did those things. And then outcomes basically measure, are people better off because we ran this program, people came to it, didn't meet our high level outcomes. Outcomes are really, they take time to make. They're tricky. They usually have targets that come with them. So this space right now really, again, is based on best practices and really kind of things that we think we can track and want to start tracking. But one of the things we really want to engage with this commission in over time is basically helping us and our, hopefully, if it's funded, sustainability coordinator basically determine, what these outcome, or make proposals, I should say, to council about what these outcome metrics should be and setting targets for them. So I would say a lot of the ones that are in here right now are placeholders or metrics that are really kind of at a starting point. We then have sub goals, and so these really kind of just provide a bit more detail. So there's obviously different categories related to waste and recycling, so those would be sub goals. And then we also have projects that for the most part are one-time and discrete specific things that we want to do as a city. I think, like our strategic plan in general, it's project heavy. There's always going to be projects, there's always going to be new initiatives, but over time, once a lot of these projects are built out, there'll probably be less, a few years from now, there'll be less projects in the plan, but more metrics, because we'll have built out a lot of these initiatives and we'll then be measuring how well they're working. But that's the way it's structured right now. So this is an infographic that basically, again, using the example that I just shared, kind of shows the structure or the hierarchy. So overall, as I mentioned, there's 10 goals, 24 outcomes, 36 sub goals, and 72 projects. What's important then about the projects, if you look at the boxes, or I don't know if they're boxes, but arrows, I guess they are, on the bottom, this basically describes where the projects came from. So 13 of these projects were added from the original. So we basically took the original strategic plan. We did a survey, an internal survey, and basically asked staff, are there initiatives related to sustainability that we're doing that are not included? We also got feedback from some community members and from council members. 10 projects represent existing programs that the staff has been managing and working on. 25 of the projects that are in the plan right now were original projects in this section of the strategic plan. Then the other 25 are mapped elsewhere. So they're projects that are maybe under infrastructure or neighborhoods or economic opportunity, another part of the plan. But we decided to basically cross map them here. Now there's some cities that the sustainability plan is basically tantamount to being the strategic plan for the city. And the definition of sustainability in some cities is really large. It can really overlap everything that a city does. And so, kind of best practice in the last several years is that sustainability really isn't just focused squarely on kind of what we would think about natural environment protection, but it also involves just kind of overall resource protection. So things like food security, even community engagement, things like that. And so we decided to basically say, okay, there's 25 other projects that are maybe more closely tied to transportation or infrastructure or whatnot, but they also correlate into sustainability. And so we wanted to acknowledge that in the space. They're tracked in those different areas, but we also are including them as part of the plan to show that they are also things that we do related to sustainability. These are areas where we received feedback. Again, we went to council with a few study sessions. Many staff members weighed in on this. We got some feedback from community members. And then we also engaged Dr. Cog. So the nice thing about Dr. Cog is they track a lot of metrics on a regional basis. And then they also have worked with other cities in the metro area that have built their own strategic sustainability plans. And so they had best practices to share with us. So they basically spent an afternoon with the city manager, Sean Lewis, and I think 6 different department heads, and basically went through every aspect of our plan. And they made some suggestions and gave us some ideas and things like that. So we were certainly grateful to get their input. So just to talk a little bit about where the reporting stands right now. So the strategic plan for the city, again, it's primarily projects and it's tracked on a quarterly basis. So every quarter, we publish a dashboard. It's basically in a PowerPoint, and it basically shows project health. Is the project on track, off track, impacted by COVID-19, delayed? Are we suggesting a modification, things like that? and we bring that to council, and then it's usually on a consent calendar item, and then council usually votes on it. And again, it's also published on the website. So right now, that's how we track all the different projects, including the sustainability ones that are part of the strategic plan. These are some modifications that were made to the plan from the initial iteration. I just kind of wanted to point these out to you today, just to kind of show you. Obviously, all of it is new to you to an extent, but Logan, yeah, you have a question?
Hey, Tim, thanks. Can you go back to the last slide real quick? I didn't mean to get you off track.
Oh, no worries, not at all. Sorry. Yeah.
And I was reading the plan earlier this last weekend. Where is the dashboard up and running? And is that on the city's website? If so?
Yes. I can actually, if it's okay, Logan, maybe after I'm done with the presentation, I can actually go to the city's website and pull it up to show you.
Certainly.
But yeah, Eric, actually, why don't I do it right now? Is that okay with everybody? Or
I didn't mean to derail you. Sorry.
oh, you're not. It's okay.
I just
There
saw
you go.
tracking. I was like, I remember reading about that.
Yeah, let me just really quickly pull it up to show you. I could just pull it from my files too, but yeah, so I think actually the ones from 2021 have not been added, but I'll just show you really quickly what the actually, you know what? Hold on one second. I'm just gonna pull it from my file. It's a better. All right. Yeah, so again, it's pretty basic right now. And we definitely want to make it more robust, especially as it relates to sustainability. But basically, yeah, so the beginning just talks about the different areas of the plan. So you see here the 7 what we call outcome areas. And then we just have, again, an overall project health. A key, it basically shows what each symbol means. And then for each section, it just shows how many projects, what the status is of them, and then any projects that have been completed during that quarter. So I'll just scroll down to the sustainability section. Yeah, so 26 projects. These are the kind of the main projects, so to speak. So it doesn't include the ones that track elsewhere, or right now ones that have data that comes from another source, like the air quality one I mentioned. So of these 26, we have 19 in progress, 5 delayed, 2 have been completed. And again, most of the ones that are in here right now are the ones that were in the strategic plan originally. So it has the sub goal in the strategic plan that it tracks to, the project that it is, the status, and then a notes that basically describes a little bit about where we're at with the project.
Thanks, Tim. This is really nice. Who manages this, and how often is it updated?
I do, and it's every quarter. So
Okay.
It's basically the month after the quarter ends. So the current quarter, I think, ends in September. So the next dashboard will come sometime toward the end of October.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. This is great.
Yeah, no problem. And again, this is an area where we really want to work with you to, within this structure, of course, but work with you and the sustainability coordinator, if it's funded, to really come up with an even more robust way of tracking sustainability. So with metrics, there's a lot of really cool types of dashboards you can build that have kind of, data in the background and Excel sheets and all kinds of things. So we can certainly get into over time. So again, these are just some of the things I wanted to highlight that were newer. These are things that, came across through council discussions, from staff, that we added from Dr. Cog. So again, we decided to track air quality on a regional basis. We changed built infrastructure to built environment and infrastructure. So this goal area really is meant to cover anything that's essentially human-made. We moved the regional electric vehicle work, to air quality from energy. And then we highlighted the fact that we've already done some work to build a micro turbine for it's a pumping station as part of the Big Dry Creek diversion project. We also, and this came from some council comments, we added a food system goal area. Obviously that should say related to the city's partnership with Change the Trend in doing food drives and things like that. We added some language in the natural environment section related to an integrated pest management plan that we have in our parks division, and also work they're doing with trees, and also added a goal related or project related to tree planting and maintenance. And we also, and I think Councilmember Anderson had brought up the concept of a 15-minute city, where things are more interconnected, where you can basically access whatever you need in 15 minutes. And so we modified the language in this section to really focus on the concept of an interconnected community, and added outcomes related to the proximity of housing related to this, units to public transportation, parks, and grocery stores. These are pretty common planning metrics as well. So these are the 10 goal areas. Again, just to kind of talk a little bit about each one, I've talked a bit about air quality, so I won't go into that too much detail right now. Built environment infrastructure. So this really contains infrastructure, meaning things the city owns and built, but also the built environment of the city as a whole. So planning, zoning, things like that would live in this area. Community resilience. So this is really kind of how we can engage the community in topics related to sustainability. How can we be resilient with challenges that we face? Economic resilience is basically the same for our local economy, and very closely related to the local economy section of our strategic plan. Energy, somewhat self-explanatory, but related to projects that we do both for city facilities and also try to encourage across the city community. Food system, as I mentioned, right now, we're really not doing a lot in this area, but we do some programs like the school lunch program that we coordinate, and then also some food drives and things like that. We've been doing the library, create a little pantry, so there is some work going on in that space. Natural environments, probably one of the heavier areas. So this is really where everything involving our parks, trees, animals, things like anything in the natural environment. Transportation, again, transportation is one of the outcome areas in the strategic plan, but it also is critical to sustainability. So in this section, there's some things related to the Inglewood trolley and some biking and encouraging biking and walking and things like that. Waste and recycling. There's obviously a lot that's been going on the past year in this space. And then water. One thing to point out is I think our recycling rate as a city government is very low, and so that's something we want to tackle for sure. And then obviously there are things that have been going on at the community level, related obviously to single hauler trash and recycling and things like that. And then finally water protection, which of course our utilities and our South Platte Renew, which is our sewer utility departments, are very involved in, and they're heavily involved in sustainability in a lot of ways. So again, to date, things that have happened in April, council approved the sustainability plan, and then this was created as a commission in August, which is great that happened. So I think the next steps, and I think it's your new acronym, right, or abbreviation, I should say, is ESC. Doesn't maybe sound as cool as KEB, but it is what it is. Maybe you can think of a cool nickname. But so the first order of business, of course, in this transition is for you to review on the sustainability plan, for you to then determine which goal areas you would like further review and presentation. So this we can maybe start this discussion tonight. So we can kind of start planning for October. But if there's areas where you'd like, more of a deeper dive, maybe some department heads or subject matter experts to come to your next meetings and really go through them in more detail. And then after kind of going through the plan in detail and getting those presentations, for the commission to work on creating an approach to making recommendations and modifications to the plan over time. And then certainly, as I mentioned before, we do hope, contingent on funding, to hire a sustainability coordinator relatively soon into the next fiscal year, which starts in January. And then, as we're just starting to do through this meeting, transition this work into the city manager's office. So with that, I'll pause. And so again, I can pull up the actual plan. We can go through it in detail. Happy to take whatever questions you have. And then happy to kind of start brainstorming with you about what areas you'd like more detail or further presentations on.
The one question that I keep coming back to is, how are we going to interact with council and with staff around this plan, so that I don't know if it'd be correct to say that we have some enforcement or some real input that matters. I mean, part of the thing with KEB is we've kind of been chasing our tails for a couple of years and looking at, what we can do more. And that's why we're excited to take this on. And I think we're gonna, from what I've heard from a few people, we're gonna attract some members that are pretty involved with sustainability issues, which I hope comes to pass. And then how do we interact? I mean, we can have input into council. Are we going to be the funnel that citizens go to put ideas before council, or will they do that directly to council? How can we influence staff? Recycling issues, things like that.
Yeah, so the way I kind of think about it, Bob, is that the plan really will become your plan. So it's obviously the sustainability plan for the city, but it really is meant to be the roadmap, for this commission. So the engagement really should be based on the contents of the plan. So the way that we kind of scoped it is that on an annual basis, this commission would suggest recommended changes to the plan to council, and then would also report to council on an annual basis about the status of the plan. So certainly, I or hopefully the new sustainability coordinator, again, funded, they will be the ones doing the late work, in terms of collecting the data and building the presentations. But it will really be, the role of this commission to make recommendations through the plan to council about what the city should be focusing on. A lot of the things, that we put into this plan are best practices, are based on a lot of research, but in a sense, some of them are placeholders or some of them are very nascent and they really need engagement, especially the metrics. And so that's really what I was kind of thinking was, we'd spend the next couple of months kind of getting up to speed on everything. And then going into the next fiscal year, you would start to make those recommendations on an annual basis to council.
Okay. Tim, maybe you could exit the share screen and we could just kind of have more of a involvement with everybody. If anybody else has some questions or statement, that would be great.
This is Michael. First of all, I think you guys did a great job on the sustainability plan. So keep up good work. I think there's a lot in there. Just speaking for myself, I read it, and a lot of areas were either over my head or outside of my bailiwick. So I would say, oh, well, that's good. I'm glad they're doing that. I trust that's all on course. Other areas I paid attention to because at a grassroots level, I've seen things in the city, or I've talked to my neighbors or different people. And I thought I'd like to at least get that feedback back to Tim, the staff, and the council. So, I mean, am I right in thinking that are we primarily a grassroots sounding board for the city, that we maybe represent friends and neighbors in Englewood, or come up with ideas or something? I mean, we don't have the wherewithal, to follow through on some of these things. The city can, but we can't. So I'm a little confused on our role. We can suggest, we can give feedback, and I guess give our opinion, or am I not thinking? I mean, and that's not bad. I'm not against that. I'm just trying to clarify what my role is as a member of this commission.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, I mean, at the core, the commission is meant to be advisory. So I think the goal, right, is that you, over time, could create a structure for basically getting feedback from the community and then providing advice to council and staff. I think, I know I'm putting a lot of eggs into this basket, but I think, once there's a sustainability professional on staff, who will be your formal liaison, I think that will help a lot, in terms of, hopefully they'll be in a position to be able to kind of talk through some ideas with you. But yeah, that's really the idea, is that you would basically, over time, develop an expertise, right, in a lot of these areas. And that's really why today, really, I just wanted to be the first crack. But if there's parts of the plan that you really want to learn more about, I really want to be able to bring those experts to you so that we can spend the next few months building up expertise in this commission, and then start, once the coordinator hopefully arrives, to really engage more into it in terms of, bringing feedback from your neighbors and your social networks and community and things like that, and then making recommendations to staff and to council.
Will any of these goals be shared with other boards or commissions, or will there be any overlap in terms of like jurisdiction or execution?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think more of that will come clear, I think, over time. I mean, I think the projects that I mentioned that really live elsewhere but map into sustainability, maybe areas, of collaboration. I think definitely, like the Parks Commission, I don't know, for example, how much they get involved in things like tree planting or protection or pollinators, but that there may be a nexus there. There's obviously an advisory board related to transportation. There's definitely an area of connection there. So I think it will hopefully kind of come over time, but I think that's a good point, is that I think there definitely will be connection points with other boards and commissions.
How can we suggest areas of interest to you? Should we each give like maybe a top 3 that we'd be interested in hearing from? And I don't expect you, Tim, to pull in, we only have so many months to get this up and going, but I don't expect you to pull in all the experts from all these different goals. But what kind of time do we have to hear from experts? Do we have, I might have missed it, I was changing rooms, sorry, a little one. Do we have a couple of months? Do we have a year? Do we have 18 months to become subject matter experts on some of these goals, or does it need to be done a little bit quicker?
Yeah, so certainly it's up to you, but the way I had kind of scoped it was that your next 3 months of meetings, I could try to have people come in, virtually or in person, depending on how you decide to meet, to do that deep dive. And then, of course, over time, once you get kind of more squared away with things, those presentations won't necessarily stop. We could do them anytime you would like them.
Sure.
But at this point, it's really the next few months. I think the next 3 meetings was really meant, so you can really, if there's areas where you're like, whoa, I've never seen that before, or I'd really like to learn more about what the city's doing in that area, that we could take some time to do that.
That's great. I wonder if maybe we could send a straw poll or something via email or something or do we just suggest, in this venue?
Really is up to you. I mean, we could have a discussion now. You can just kind of throw things out, or we could create some kind of poll and get feedback that way. It's really whatever you want.
One thing that I've always been interested in and drew me to this in the first place was the recycling and more the lack of it throughout the years. And having worked for the city, I have just always felt that there was not a real coordinated effort to have the city itself lead in that area, and also to encourage recycling beyond the programs which the trash haulers utilize, and outside of the hazardous waste and that program, we're not really cutting edge, or and we've had a lot of talk, we've had a lot of discussions, and yet we still seem to be spinning our wheels. And I would really like to impact that. And also the single hauler trash program needs to be implemented, because I think that would make a lot of the other recycling issues simpler to deal with. So I would say that is one thing that I would definitely like to look at personally, even to maybe have a tour of a recycling, the single or the recycling plants that we have, to get a grasp on what we can do and how, as a city, we can do more. And then also, I would like, and I don't know which this would fit under, except maybe infrastructure, to make our codes, our building codes, really open, so that new buildings are almost, well, there's we could become too rules oriented, but that new buildings should be able to at least be LEED certified, and then be able to upgrade. Let's say if we become an all electric and we have much more sustainable electricity, to continue to pursue that in a much more organized manner and stuff. And I'm speaking, I'm not as up to date on what has been going on the last year or two, but I know we've gotten there. And then to also see, we had a discussion while we were at hazardous waste about alternate fuels, since we have a methane collection now at the waste plant. Is there some way that we could funnel that right into city vehicles or something like that. So just things like that, I'd like to see us look at and go from there. So that would probably be the three that I would come up with right away: recycling, building, infrastructure, and transportation.
I'd echo Bob's on the waste and recycling. Water protection, water policy has always been an area of interest for me. Especially public education, water conservation efforts, upgrading our systems, smart metering. Those are all areas of interest to me. So I don't know what you can do with that, Tim, but maybe we could hear from somebody from Charles Allen or something, the treatment facility, or, a water expert from the city. That's an area of interest for me.
You're muted, Mike.
Mike, you're on mute.
Can't read my lips, huh? Okay.
I can
Said-
see him moving.
No, what I was getting at is, at some level, I could imagine us endorsing some things that the city's already doing, and we can say, go, we really think it's great, And another area I see us suggesting, gee, can the city look into this? Or is this something somebody could do? A real simple example, underwater, I go to the rec center and the sign says conserve water, which is great. And then it takes forever for the water to warm up. So there's all this water going down the drain, and you're looking at the sign that says don't shave, conserve water. And I mean, that's not a high-tech problem. I'll bet you somebody could figure that out, but it does diminish credibility for people, going to the rec center. On the one hand, you want to save water, and you're sitting there for 3 minutes waiting for the shower to warm. And this is a topic of conversation, by the way. This is not just crazy Mike going to the rec center. So that's low-hanging fruit. And I mean, again, just to bring it to your attention, if it costs $2 million to fix, okay, don't fix it. But on the other hand, there could be some things that we could bring to your attention that might not be all that hard to do. Nobody told you about it, or it's just not on the radar. So I'm kind of tossed between suggestions and endorsement, I suppose criticism or feedback, but I mean, that is how I see our role evolving. Keep up the good work, you're on track, here's something to think about, or boy, we think you're really off track. We don't agree with that. Is that consistent or inconsistent with what you're thinking is, Tim?
Really consistent. Yeah, there's definitely a low-hanging fruit. Some things are much more complicated and it'll take years, and other things like you can make a suggestion tomorrow that could be implemented. So yeah.
My point is that if we have a fertile ground, I think we can really begin to find areas like this and come up with suggestions or come up with, things that we notice or ideas and how, what I really want to see is a path, and I'm hoping that once we get a sustainability person in there, that we can utilize this so that a suggestion like Mike just had gets into the hopper and, we see some results like within 30 days or within a quarter, so that, yeah, it's not possible to fix this, but we are looking at an update in the building or whatever in 2 years, and we will put in a recirculating pump that, you know, could save us hundreds of gallons of water and, you know, things like that, plus the energy. So I guess that just reinforces what I've been trying to say. And we would like, you know, even with you, Tim, to be able to, you know, start putting these things in the hopper and go from there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, maybe, you know, once we get into details into some of these topics towards the end of those sessions or meetings, that, you know, could be a 5 or 10 minute kind of brainstorm of what the next steps are, the next things you want to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and then if we're overflowing or the hopper is clogging up or whatever, then we can adjust. But I think that's something that we can move toward. Is there any other, we have basically 4 areas that have been brought up: transportation, recycling, building, and water. Is there anything else that out of the 10 that, you know, we can look at, or that you think we need to prioritize right now? I mean, for me, that those 4 are enough to keep me going for quite a while. But if there's other things that you think we need to prioritize, then speak up.
I kind of like the idea of keeping the initial like scope small, just so that everyone can kind of get in a groove and figure out what we're doing before we start putting more on the plate. That's my thought. I think those are solid areas. I think everyone has, you know, interest. So there's different, everyone has different interests in those. So I think starting small is be strategic.
I think that's a good point, Rachel. I think maybe what we could do is maybe start, like, for next time, thinking about recycling and come up with, you know, projects or whatever, and maybe follow through with recycling and see how that goes by the next meeting. Would that be something that you would look at, Tim? Or
Sure.
I think that would be, you know, the garbage and recycling program would be a good place to start, and maybe feel that through. And as we do that, then we can see how to attack some of these other areas. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I really like the idea of picking like the topics of discussion for the next session. That way we can kind of be super efficient with our time and prepared. So we can kind of just, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
Okay. What do you think, Tim? Maybe
I think that's great. So we'll try to tee up a recycling presentation for next time.
Mm-hmm. And maybe in part of that, look at where we're at with the single hauler and what we need to do to move that along, and maybe see what outcomes we could set up and stuff like that too.
Sounds great.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other things that we need to discuss And we will also have on the agenda then the leaf recycling and getting that nailed down, because that will be at the end of October and November. Now, will still be overseeing that, or is that going to be under your office now, Tim?
Yeah, so will be coordinating the programming through the end of this year, through December.
Okay,
So he and I will kind of be tag teaming. So I'll be doing the sustainability stuff. He'll be doing the programming.
okay,
And then once January hits, we'll be doing all of it.
okay. And hopefully about the first of the year, we're looking at having that staff liaison on board.
Yeah, so if approved as part of the budget in October, we plan to start recruiting probably sometime in November. The funding for it doesn't exist until January 1st, but we want to
Right.
get a leg up on it for sure. And then, yeah, I mean, I think if someone's here in January, that would be amazing. I think probably February is a bit more likely, but hopefully it won't be too much later than that.
Well, that would be good. What you're thinking, Joe, from the council standpoint is, I know you're behind this, but is that looking doable?
In terms of the budget approval,
Yeah, and
I-
staffing and all of that.
yeah, I would say I kind of expect all this to move forward. Yeah, with the staff member and everything. Yep.
From what I've seen, the council is really excited and seems to be wanting to pursue this, so.
Yep.
Unless something happens in the election, I don't think that's gonna change, though.
Well, the budget will likely be approved before the election, so.
Yeah, the budget should be there in place by that time for sure, so. Then we'll just have to go with whatever happens with the new people.
Bob, I have a
And-
question.
Yeah, Logan.
You mentioned the leaf recycling. I heard you say late October, or early November. The date on the agenda says October 6th. That's in 2 weeks. Is that something we'll have time to talk about and get set up before our next meeting I think it's on the 5th, or actually,
No,
no, that'd be the
I
12th.
cannot see leaves being ready to collect by October 6th. I'm gonna have to check on that
All right.
because we've usually done it right around the Halloween time and then the first week in November. But yeah, I'll have to get in touch with Will and see, because 6th, unless that's something that Littleton has set up, because this is a lot to do with them too. But it, the way the temperatures have been, I've only seen about 5 leaves fall on my lawn right now, so,
Fair enough. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Let me know what Will says.
I just checked with Will. It's November 6th and 13th. So November.
November,
6th. Okay.
okay.
Thanks, Shelley.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.
Great. So that's where we're at then. We will look at the leaf recycling, and we'll start working on the recycling and go from there. Is there any other questions, statements? Oh, I know. The other thing I wanted to ask Tim and Joe is about getting new commission members, when are the recruiting beginning? And we want to make sure that it's advertised as sustainability and hopefully get some. I think we've got at least 3 openings right now, right?
We do.
I can't remember exactly when we're recruiting again next. I think it's this fall or maybe here in a couple months. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, we'll certainly make sure to advertise it as the Sustainability Commission, and I think we'll have a good response.
Yeah, and I'll try and do some legwork and see if our contacts, we have some interest out there. It seemed to me that it was around Christmas time when I interviewed for commissions. So, maybe it would help if we could do it a little earlier than that and have them, at least have them in place by January, but I don't know what the schedule is, but that might be something to nail down. Great.
I had reached out to the city clerk's office about this a few weeks ago. And so they are changing everything to be branded as a sustainability commission, a description of the new commission. And it looks like they're going to start the recruitment process in early October. I'm not sure when the interviews happen. I think that's later, obviously, but
yeah, if we can get some word out there, I think that would be great. Okay. Well, I've about had enough of sustainability for a while. Anybody want to keep meeting, or do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Mike, you
Second.
better. Rachel seconds. Great. We're out of here.
Good to see y'all.
Thanks, guys. Good meeting. I appreciate it, Tim.
yeah, no worries.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Shelley. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.